confidence that cannot be imparted. In contrast to those who came before him, he neither faltered nor lingered. He observed details. Little details. I liked my coffee just a touch lighter than the usual brew. Just as the board meeting approached, my pen decided to give up the ghost. When I bypassed lunch, he would subtly mend it, without turning it into a spectacle. The initial occasion, he declared, "Allow me to handle it," revolved around something absurd, a collection of client folders that nobody was eager to organize. Yet it was not the words he uttered. It was the manner in which, steadfast, confident, I felt no need to justify my actions. It dawned on me just how much time had passed since someone had addressed me in that manner. We began to linger together long into the evening. Initially it was pure. Quarterly reports are due. Proposals for clients. Our schedules are so constricted that we hardly ever lift our gaze from our screens. Yet, there were moments when I noticed his gaze lingering as I swept my hair away from my face, or when I leaned forward over the desk to put my signature down. Not dwelling, simply conscious. At times, I would allow my gaze to linger as well. On a dreary Tuesday evening, as the rain pattered against the window, I found myself engrossed in crafting a presentation when suddenly, my laptop came to a standstill. I let out a weary sigh, whispering to myself, "Of course." From across the room, Daniel inquired, "Would you like me to take a look?" I nearly declined. It seemed foolish, as I could easily restart it on my own. Yet I simply nodded. He approached from behind, leaning in just enough to hover over my shoulder. The subtle aroma of his cologne, cedar mingling with a hint of warmth, enveloped me. His fingers grazed against mine as he grasped the mouse. Insufficient to be mere happenstance. Insufficient to be apparent. Just the right amount to send my heart racing. "It seems to be overheating," he murmured, his breath brushing gently against my hair. "I will ensure your files are securely backed up. You certainly wouldn't want to part with these." It was unremarkable. Specialized, innocuous, and yet, as I tilted my head just a fraction, we found ourselves nearer than we had ever been before. Near enough for me to catch the glimmers of green in his eyes. Neither of us stirred. Neither of us had any need to. That instant conveyed it all. After that night I sensed a shift. His emails maintained a polished demeanor. His tone remained one of respect. Yet, the truth lay hidden within his gaze. Mine did as well. The following Friday, while I was collecting my belongings, he inquired, "Do you need me to secure the place tonight?" For a moment I paused. He smiled, not with the usual courteous grin of an assistant, but with a warmth that felt more genuine, more inviting. "I have no objection to staying," he remarked. Before I had the chance to respond, the words escaped my lips. "Perhaps solitude isn't what I desire this evening." By 7:30, the floor lay bare, a shell of its former self, illuminated by the glow of exit signs, the gentle hum of the HVAC, and a printer resting quietly in the shadows. The rain adorned the windows with a shimmering silver thread. The scent of damp asphalt wafted up from 12 stories beneath me, each time the elevator doors parted and then closed with a weary sigh. Daniel remained. He remained silent, offering no inquiries about the next steps. He glided through my space in those soft, considerate arcs, placing a pile of proofs next to me, coming back with the tea I reserve for the toughest days, peppermint, no sugar, and setting a delicate timer on his phone to remind me to pause and take a breath every 40 minutes. "Thank you," I murmured as he set the mug gently beside my wrist. He inclined his head. "It seems that expressing that came at a price for you." "Pardon." "I appreciate it," he murmured gently. "For those accustomed to shouldering all burdens, it weighs even more." I chuckled, yet it unraveled at the seams. At the age of 28, Daniel. "So, you really ought not to be this insightful." He offered a subtle smile, devoid of teeth, before shifting his gaze to the whiteboard. "First, the EOQ timeline. Next, we assess the client notes. I will implement the necessary adjustments. You grant your approval or impose a veto, much like a gracious sovereign. Kind-hearted." I raised an eyebrow. "On your better days," he remarked, his eyes sparkling with a hint of mischief. The playful exchange ought to have tempered the atmosphere. It brought warmth. As the clock struck 8, the storm intensified. The structure sighed like a weathered vessel, deep, timbered echoes that evoke a sense of comfort, while simultaneously reminding you of your own insignificance. We collaborated seamlessly, a harmony that emerges only when the world has retreated into silence. As we both extended our hands for the pen, his sleeve lightly grazed my forearm. Neither of us hurried to depart. We remained silent, offering no remarks. As the burdens of the day pressed down upon my shoulders, I rose to stretch, only to feel a sharp twinge of discomfort. A knot had woven itself beneath my scapula. He observed, "Please grant me just a moment." Before I had the chance to protest, he slipped into the supply closet and emerged with a slender blue heat pack. He gave it a vigorous shake, pressing it into his palms to summon the warmth, then extended it outward. "Is it permissible?" he inquired. Just 2 syllables. A door ajar, inviting me to either step inside or continue on my path. I pivoted, brushed my hair to one side and gave a nod. He leaned the pack against the taut muscle, deliberate, unhurried, fully dressed, the fluorescent buzz resonating in the stillness. His hands remained still. They secured their position. He wasn't engaging in intimacy. He was providing solace. "Is it too warm?" he inquired. "No. I hesitated, swallowing hard. "It is quite satisfactory." "Breathe," he said. And in that moment, I finally surrendered to someone beyond the confines of my schedule. We returned to the deck. He slid a chair next to mine, allowing us to share a screen. A jazz playlist whispered from my laptop. Upright bass, brushes on snare, the longing nestled between the notes. I composed my thoughts in written form. He revised. Our closeness transformed from mere physical presence into a deliberate decision. At one moment he murmured softly, "Charlotte." I kept my gaze fixed downward. Could I pose a question without it leading to any issues for you in the future? The question lingered in the air, a palpable presence that reached me before the words ever escaped the lips of its asker. "Inquire." His gaze remained fixed on the screen, his voice unwavering. "Do you find yourself by yourself when you return home?" The laptop was shut with a definitive click. The rain inscribed a quietude upon the glass, a gentle whisper of solitude. "Yes," I said. "Primarily." He nodded once, as if cataloging information rather than probing limits. "Well, that certainly holds some weight." "It is not," I replied. "It's not your responsibility to mend." "I understand." He pivoted to meet my gaze completely. "I'm not here to change you, Charlotte. He paused, gathering his thoughts before continuing. "I can't bear to leave you here." Feeling like the final flicker in a forgotten room, something within me, something I had conditioned to remain motionless, shifted. "Daniel," I said, choosing my words with precision, "we collaborate. Policies exist. Power dynamics exist. Some individuals have a tendency to interpret even the most unfavorable rendition of any situation and label it as the absolute truth." He inclined his head in acknowledgement. "I understand." A pause. "This is the reason I inquire." The atmosphere was thick with anticipation. "Inquire about what?" He did not extend his hand toward me. He left the distance unbridged. "If tonight," he said, his voice steady, "all you desire is a hug to remind your bones they're being held, may I offer you that? Just that. Everything is a matter of choice." My lips parted, then sealed once more. "A question can indeed wrap around you like a warm embrace." "Indeed." I found myself responding. "You are permitted." He lingered at the forefront, just slow enough to give me a moment to reconsider. I rose as well. He stood there, hands outstretched, and as I moved closer, he enveloped me in his embrace as if it were the simplest act he had performed all week. It was not hunger. It lacked the allure of the illicit. It was a lengthy breath I had been restraining for what felt like an eternity. I sensed the rhythmic pulse of his heart, the fabric of his shirt. His hands rested where I could sense their presence, open and steady, between my shoulder blades at the center of my back like a vow. "Is that all right?" he inquired softly, his voice brushing against my hair. "All right," I replied and truly felt it. I lingered until the tension in the knot behind my shoulder eased away. In unison we retreated, two experts in a space that abruptly recalled its identity as an office. "Thank you," I repeated, my voice carrying a sense of buoyancy this time. "It doesn't cost me a thing," he remarked. "It certainly will," I responded. "The morrow. The following day. Whispers require no evidence." He inclined his head in acknowledgement. "Then we let them suffer from hunger. No performance to speak of. There are no hidden truths in the corridors. We simply function." "What about the time that follows?" I was taken aback by the question. "After hours," he remarked with deliberation, "we mustn't forget to inquire. We completed the deck at 9:30. He meticulously printed the stack, clipped it with precision, and placed it neatly by the door. I donned my trench coat. He took my umbrella from the stand and placed it gently into my hand. "Send me a message when you arrive," he said. "I refrain from texting employees at night," I replied instinctively. He smiled, a hint of sorrow lingering within it. "Why not send a message to a friend?" I remained in that moment, keys clutched in one hand, umbrella poised in the other, allowing the words to settle as they wished. "Sleep well, Daniel. Sleep well, Charlotte." I entered the damp corridor. The door gently closed behind me, creating a quiet seal. The elevator emitted a soft chime. My image in the mirrored walls resembled a woman who had recalled something elusive, yet unnamed. As I stood in the lobby, I unfurled the umbrella and stepped out into the downpour. Contemplating the intricacies of policies and the stance we adopt, I realized how effortlessly a city can confuse mere endurance with true strength. A blue heat pack came to mind, accompanied by a question posed like a hand reaching out over a river. Upon arriving at my car, I unlocked the door, slipped inside, and settled in with the engine silent. The tempest eased. The structure radiated warmth in my wake, a luminous cube suspended in the shadows. I composed a message that remained unsent. Arrived back home. After that, I erased it, ignited the engine, and headed toward an apartment where the sole company was the soft hum of the refrigerator and a thirsty plant in need of hydration. As I sat at the stoplight, my phone vibrated softly once. Unnamed. Only the glimpse. "Don't forget to take a breath." I chose not to reply. I followed the instructions given to me. For the first time in ages, the air filled every corner within. On a Wednesday, the storm made its entrance, not with fanfare but with a quiet urgency, sudden and relentless torrents of rain enveloping the city in a haze. By 6:15, the remainder of the floor had succumbed. Umbrellas unfurled. Whispers of goodnights floated through the corridor. A laugh faded away, swallowed by the cold, metallic expanse of the elevator. Seated in my office, I leaned forward, elbows resting on the desk, chin cradled in my folded hands, gazing intently at a timeline that stubbornly resisted my attempts to control it. Daniel lingered in the doorway, his jacket draped casually over one shoulder, as he awaited my decision on whether our time together had come to an end. "Let's move the revisions to the morning," he suggested. "Heroism fades as the clock strikes 6. The slides will not express their gratitude to us." I ought to have agreed. I ought to have signaled him away with a thankful smile and the sort of boundaries that HR outlines in their pamphlets. In response, I remarked, 15 minutes. "In that case, I shall treat you to a dinner at a place adorned with cloth napkins." He pressed his shoulder against the frame, that half-smile I was beginning to memorize. "You shall have no debts to me. However, I shall accept the napkins." Just 5 minutes into our swift repairs, the building let out a deep breath, and then all was shrouded in darkness. Not the mere flicker that others jest about. A deep, resonant murmur gradually fading into stillness. The screens went dark. The HVAC fell silent. The metropolis condensed into a blur of sodium lights reflected on the slick surface of glass. "Power source?" I inquired of the shadows. "Basement," Daniel remarked, his hand already reaching for his phone in his pocket. The glow of the screen cast a serene blue hue across his features. "Our floor isn't connected to the essential circuits." "Naturally, it isn't." I extended my hand toward my own phone. 8%. Flawless. He activated his flashlight, positioning it face down to cast a circle of light that spilled across the desk, transforming the office into a cozy campfire setting. 15 minutes have taken a turn toward the profound, he remarked. We might as well call it, I suggested, though I remained still. We could, he conceded, remaining still as well. The rain beat relentlessly upon the windows, a myriad of fingers pleading for entry. In the stillness, I caught the faintest of sounds, the gentle tick of the wall clock that persisted in its duty, the gradual settling of the building's structure, my own breath weaving through a ribcage that had become a fortress. Daniel's voice emerged softer than the shadows demanded. Are you all right? Indeed, I replied, simply experiencing the profound volume of silence. He lingered for a moment, then draped his jacket over the back of a chair and approached the desk, not too near, just enough to bask in the shared glow of the light. His tie hung loosely around his neck. The rain had claimed his cuffs somewhere between the elevator and my door, and the fabric shimmered with a muted luster. Would you like the door to be open? He inquired. The inquiry served as a reflection. I caught a glimpse of my own reflection within it. No, I replied, unwavering. Not this evening. He gave a slight nod. There is no triumph to be found within it. Nothing but respect. By the dim glow of the flashlight we gathered our belongings, papers neatly stacked, pens gathered in a tight cluster, laptops resting in silence. Eventually, the tempest subsided to a constant whisper, and my shoulders recalled that they need not cling to my ears. He observed. He was ever observant. You've been shouldering the entire quarter, he remarked, devoid of accusation, free from flattery. Where does it go? Regarding lists, I remarked. Within the pages of calendars. Amidst my dental embrace. He smiled at that, a smile that began in his eyes. Your teeth require a coalition. My teeth are yearning for a getaway. Take one, he urged. I shall support the structure from its edges. That's not your responsibility. Neither is observing your eating habits, he remarked softly. And it appears I'm doing just that regardless. The flashlight emitted a soft glow, casting a miniature cosmos in the space between us. I placed my hands palm up on the desk, as though seeking an answer to a question I had yet to articulate. Share a truth with me, I urged. He pondered. I begin the day with confidence. As the clock strikes noon, I find myself in a dance of spontaneity. By 6, I simply yearn for someone to affirm that I have done enough. I inclined my head in agreement. You've done more than enough. You do too, he replied, the words tumbling out with an undeniable certainty. We lingered in that moment, two individuals acknowledging our fatigue without seeking a remedy from one another. A fresh deluge of rain tapped insistently against the window pane. A fierce gust pressed against the window, seeking out a crack to slip through. A chill ran through me before I could seize it. He observed. He consistently did. Charlotte, he murmured, a hint of inquiry woven into my name. I took a deep breath, released into the air. What is it that you seek? Just like before, he remarked. Under the same guidelines. He remained still until I made my move. I rose to my feet. He certainly did as well. I approached him and he embraced me like a safe haven, not a tumultuous wave, steady with arms open wide and hands clearly extended. My forehead rested gently against his collarbone, seeking solace in the stillness. His breath counted the moments for us both. Is that all right? He inquired. Very well, I replied into the fabric of the linen. The passage of time dulled the sharpness of moments. A siren wove its way through the tempest, relentless in its journey onward. My heartbeat negotiated its way into tranquility. He remained steadfast. He secured his position. As I finally drew away, the separation felt perfectly balanced, like we had practiced the dance beforehand. We had not. We simply understood how to part ways while preserving the other person's dignity. I appreciate it, I replied. He shook his head in disbelief. I appreciate the opportunity to contribute in a manner that goes beyond just sending a calendar invite. I emitted a noise that caught me off guard, a blend of laughter and tears. You are utterly exasperating. Infuriatingly organized, he remarked. Particularly exasperating, I retorted. He glanced at the shut door before turning his gaze back to me. Shall we give the stairs a shot? Let's check if the generator still recalls our presence. Just 5 more minutes, I murmured, the phrase rolling off my tongue like a sweet invitation. We infused them with subtle realities. The aftermath of my divorce transformed into an unexpected endeavor, where silence became a task unto itself. At 24, he relocated across the country, driven by the weight of grief that had taken up residence in his apartment, month by month. The plant perched on my kitchen counter thrives, a testament to my stubborn resolve. The dog he longed for but ultimately did not adopt, as he questioned whether his life was a suitable environment for anything to depend upon. You might find it comfortable to lean here, I remarked before I had a chance to reconsider. He locked his gaze with mine, yet remained at a distance. I exist. With great care. The lights flickered momentarily, as if the entire building took a collective breath. The monitors sprang to life, their startup chimes resonating in harmonious unison. Warm air flowed back through the vents like a gentle ribbon, embracing the space. We both released a soft, unbidden chuckle, like children pretending to be courageous, suddenly saved by the mundane. We should go, I remarked synchronously with his own declaration. We should go. We approached the door with patience. He grabbed my bag without a word. Not out of ownership, just practicality. I allowed him to proceed. As I stood at the threshold, my hand instinctively moved toward the handle. He arrived just ahead of me, barely by an inch, then paused, allowing his hand to drop, and gestured for me to make my selection. The door creaked open. The hallway reflected its own essence once more. Illuminated, practical, the stop sign read exit stood as a comforting presence in its ordinariness. The elevator chimed dutifully. Within the confines of the vehicle, we maintained the courteous space of acquaintances familiar with one another's middle names. The journey to the lobby is a brief one, spanning just 12 steps. Seemed to stretch on indefinitely. Do you feel a pang of hunger? I found myself inquiring, my gaze fixed on the figures. He regarded the panel as if it were a sprawling city skyline. Ravenous. Diner on 8th, I remarked. They maintain genuine napkins. He offered a smile. You honor your obligations. I mentioned that I'd be indebted to you, I replied. I settle my debts. The doors swung wide. The lobby staff stared at us, as if we had returned from a journey far beyond the confines of the 12 floors above. Outside, the rain had diminished to a shimmering veil of silver mist. We approached the revolving door, the type that demands you select a segment and place your faith in its ability to usher you through to the other side. He took a step forward, then hesitated, allowing our wedges to come into perfect alignment. Charlotte, he murmured, his voice barely rising above the city's clamor. If at any moment tonight you wish to revert to 2 colleagues sharing soup in this weather, just say the word. I hesitated before responding. The scent of damp concrete mingled with a sense of liberation. A bus came to a halt with a weary sigh. The street was woven with the glow of headlights. Daniel, I murmured. This evening I desire companionship. I took a breath. I wished to hold on to the truth that desire does not equate to action. He inclined his head, exuding a sense of formality. That's within my capabilities. We strolled alongside each other, drawn toward the glow of the diner's neon lights. Our hands remained apart. My heartbeat seemed oblivious to the situation. In a cozy corner booth, the waitress served coffee that rose in wisps, reminiscent of a whispered promise. We ordered soup, yet left it untouched for 5 minutes, as the understanding shared between us was a feast in itself. Share with me your most troublesome habit, I inquired. I arrange my spices in alphabetical order, he remarked. Is it you? I plan my sorrow. He remained unyielding. At what hour does it find favor? Following the 11th hour. Before slumber seeks out others. He pushed a paper napkin in my direction, but then reconsidered and replaced it with a linen one. Just so you know, he remarked, I really appreciate this side of you. The one that remains unyielding in its performance. I'm uncertain of how to embody her at 9 a.m. team gatherings. There's no need for that, he remarked. 9 o'clock in the morning. May don a unique outfit. This could belong to you. We dined. We took our time. We acknowledged its significance without embellishment, neither downplaying nor exaggerating its impact. We allowed it to exist exactly as it was, Two individuals who had maintained their composure in the eyes of the world deciding, for one tempestuous night, to abandon that restraint. As he escorted me to my car, he paused at a distance that felt like a protective barrier, yet close enough to convey a sense of concern. "Message a friend once you arrive home," he instructed. The door swung open at my command. I refrained from texting employees. He smiled, and this time it was devoid of any sadness. Why not send a message to a friend? I shut the door and lowered the window to the midpoint. "Sleep well, Daniel." "Sleep well, Charlotte." I departed before I had the chance to redefine the evening. The wipers maintained their rhythm. The metropolis breathed out. As the rain fell in rhythmic patterns, it dawned on me. The building had dimmed and then returned to life. We had not descended into darkness whatsoever. We had activated something. It started as a typical Thursday. Quarterly reports, 2 client calls, and a meeting with the legal team that resembled a dental appointment devoid of anesthetic. As the clock struck 5:30, the building began to clear out in courteous surges. The lights in my office remained illuminated. Daniel materialized in the doorway, his entrance marked by a sound that barely qualified as a knock. "Working late into the evening?" "Reports aren't crafted on their own," I remarked. "I can assist," he responded, stepping over the threshold with purpose. I ought to have sent him away. Instead, I pushed the folder gently across the desk. For an hour we moved in that silent harmony we had mastered. His edits sharp, my approvals swift, the soft buzz of our laptops and the rare flutter of paper. Yet there was an unmistakable shift in the air this evening. Not more boisterous, not swifter, merely harmonized to an alternate pitch. Twice I noticed him observing me. That's not how someone in a subordinate position seeks approval. The manner in which an individual commits a fleeting detail to memory, one that may elude them by the dawn of tomorrow. At 7:15, I lifted my arms high above my head. The material of my blouse fluttered, and his stare enveloped me like a warm glow. "You're staring," I remarked, my gaze fixed elsewhere. He remained unyielding. "Indeed." It settled between us, an entity visible yet unnamed, lingering in the space we shared. As the final file was secured, I gently shut the laptop. "It's over." He remained still. "Is that the case?" I gazed at him completely then. Nothing but raw honesty, stripped of any niceties. "What is it that you seek, Daniel?" He remained at a distance. "Should I tread beyond the boundaries this evening, it will be due to the lines you've etched and the directions you've provided." My throat felt parched. "What if I choose not to illustrate it?" "Then I remain still," he declared, unwavering. "That's the agreement." It was utterly ridiculous that the sound of my pulse was audible. "Please shut the door," I urged. He didn't force it shut. He didn't even secure it. Just enough for the corridor to fade into a gentle haze. As he pivoted, his hands lay bare, palms facing outward. "Feel free to say the word whenever," he remarked. "I shall," I responded. He circled the desk, his pace deliberate, allowing my common sense a moment to intervene. It did not. He halted at a distance of an arm's length. "Is it all right if I?" he inquired, his fingers poised just above the first button of my blouse, not making contact, merely seeking permission. I gave a single nod. He toiled with deliberation, as though each button posed a unique inquiry. By the third, I became aware that I was inhaling through my mouth. By the fifth, the material parted just enough for the refreshing breeze to caress warm skin. He refrained from pressing on. His hands lingered at my waist, still covered, with no urgency in the air. Our gazes intertwined, a constant search, ever probing. "You tremble," he murmured gently. "I am unafraid," I murmured. "I know," he said, stepping closer. Not into me, but alongside me, as if we were both inhabiting the same small island amidst an expansive ocean. His hands found their way to my shoulders, gently nudging the blouse aside just enough for it to fall into his eager grasp. He carefully folded it and set it down with precision on the desk. The gesture was remarkably gentle, respectful. "This goes beyond the confines of the office," he remarked. "This concerns you." At that moment, a sense of release unfurled within me. "What about you?" He offered a subtle smile. "I find myself here by your gracious allowance." We lingered in that state, partially clothed, completely exposed, for what seemed like an eternity, though it must have been no more than a fleeting moment. There's no clumsiness here. No frantic urge to transform it into something different. Only the silent reality. I had allowed him entry, and he had departed without leaving a mark. When he finally leaned in, it wasn't for the kiss I had anticipated. It rested against my forehead, a gentle touch that conveyed, "I won't accept what you're unwilling to give." "You might have kissed me," I remarked as he withdrew. "I might have," he conceded. Yet, perhaps it was centered around my existence. I swallowed, for I grasped the distinction. He assisted me back into the blouse, graceful, unembarrassed, as if we were sealing a story that still had chapters to unfold. As the final button was fastened, I grasped his hand, lingering for a heartbeat longer than required. "This will alter the course of events," I remarked. "It has indeed," he responded. "We simply decide the manner in which we proceed." We departed in unison, the office sealing itself with its familiar click as we stepped out. The elevator ride was serene, not uncomfortable. Much like the stillness that follows a melody lingering in your mind. The air outside was sharp and invigorating, carrying a subtle scent of impending rain mingled with the warmth of streetlights. He escorted me to my car, pausing just before making contact. "Sleep well, Charlotte," he murmured. "Sleep well, Daniel." As I settled into the driver's seat and stole a glance in the mirror, I noticed his silhouette retreating. Shoulders held high, steps deliberate, reminiscent of someone bearing a precious secret yet to be revealed. The event unfolded on an evening I had not anticipated. Indeed, I had been reassuring myself throughout the week that the limits we had established were steadfast. What transpired last Thursday, the unbuttoning, the proximity that allowed us to sense each other's breath, was a singular misstep in professional judgment, tucked away in the realm of mutual understanding. Yet Friday melted into Monday, into Thursday, and each time Daniel stood in my doorway, my thoughts echoed with the gentle pressure of his hands, the meticulous manner in which he restored me. As the clock approached 8, I lifted my gaze from the clutter of my desk, only to find the floor devoid of any presence. I was in the midst of packing when he showed up. No knock, just the soft click of the door as he gently closed it behind him. "You remain," I remarked. "And you are as well," he responded. He set a folder on my desk, yet his hand remained there, hovering with an unspoken weight. "I wanted to see if you're okay. You've been more subdued than normal." "I'm fine," I deceived myself. He regarded me for a moment, then moved in a step nearer. "You're not telling the truth." I let out a breath, reclining in my chair. "I'm uncertain about how to approach this. What should I do?" "Sketch the lines," I instructed. "And hold on to them." He refrained from boasting. He refrained from pressing forward. He casually remarked, "Perhaps this evening we put down our pencils and just follow where the paper leads us." My heart raced fiercely. "What about tomorrow?" "We'll sort it out tomorrow when the time comes." I rose to my feet. He did as well. In 2 deliberate steps, the distance that separated us dissolved. As he reached for my blouse this time, his gaze held no uncertainty, only a silent acknowledgement of the answer already given. The initial button became unfastened. Next comes the second. By the fourth, his hands were not merely steady. They radiated warmth and purpose, as if etching my form into his memory. This time he ventured beyond my shoulders. The material cascaded down my arms, gathering at my elbows before merging with the darkness below. His fingertips glided along the boundary where skin encounters silk, delicate and nearly worshipful. I extended my hand toward his shirt. He allowed me to proceed. One button after another, I unveiled the expanse of his chest, our breaths synchronizing in a delicate dance. It seemed less an act of undressing and more a liberation from the barriers we had both grown weary of feigning were necessary. When he finally kissed me, it wasn't the frantic collision I had envisioned. It was slow, profound, the sort of kiss that seeks trust before desiring anything more. His hands cradled my face, not my body, as if to convey, "It is you I desire. This is more than just the present moment." I allowed myself to lean into him, shedding the roles of boss and the woman who had endured a divorce, embracing instead the essence of someone who had been truly seen for months, and longed for a touch that resonated with that recognition. We approached the sofa nestled in the corner of my office, the very one clients always avoided, deeming it too personal for our discussions. This evening, connection was the essence. As he gently reclined me, there was no sense of urgency in his movements. Each movement spoke volumes. Each caress inquired, "Is this still yours to offer?" "Yes," I repeated, with each utterance deepening in sincerity. Apparel lost its significance. The rain outside marked the passage of time. The realm beyond that threshold was a mere figment, and for the first time, I found myself unburdened by the weight of repercussions, regulations, or the faint echo of the HR handbook. Only skin and breath remained, accompanied by the undeniable truth that this was no mere coincidence. In the aftermath, we remained ensnared in quietude. Silence on errors. No hurried attempts to put on our clothes as if we had committed some sort of indiscretion. There was a quiet understanding that a door had shut behind us, and neither of us was inclined to seek out the key. At last, he rose to his feet, slipping his shirt back on before offering me my blouse. "Is there any regret?" he inquired. I fastened the initial 2 buttons, my gaze averted from him. "Not this evening." "What about tomorrow?" Our gazes locked. "I shall allow tomorrow to pose its own inquiries." As we exited the office side by side, the hallway lights illuminated our path, serving as a reminder of our surroundings, yet failing to diminish the weight of the moment we had just experienced. In the elevator, we remained close together. At the threshold of the lobby, he paused, uncertainty flickering in his mind. "Would you like me to accompany you to your car?" I nearly declined. In response, I simply replied, "Yes." As I approached my car, he took a step back, allowing me the room to depart. "Sleep well, Charlotte." "Sleep well, Daniel." As I pulled away, I caught a glimpse of him in the rearview mirror, still there, hands tucked into his pockets, as if he understood that this was far from a conclusion. Indeed, he was correct.